Hello again, you're with me Mohit, and today we are taking a cab that has room for so much and so many. I'm talking about vocabulary. Terrible wordplay, I know. Anyhow, let's just get down to business. So today we are studying collocations. Now what collocations are, I'll get to that in just a bit. But before that, what I can tell you is that collocations are a very natural and effective way of expanding and enhancing your vocabulary and hence sounding more fluent. So this video has been organized into 3 sections. In the first section, we discuss what collocations are. In the second section, we have a look at the different types of collocations. And in the final section, I share with you the various sources and the legitimate use of a Collocations Dictionary. So let the word games begin. Alright then, so what are collocations? Collocations are word pairings or word combinations that work well together. In other words, collocations are when 2 words are put together in such a manner that they end up sounding very natural. I'm going to illustrate this right away with some examples. Let me take up 3 adjectives over here. Say you've got tasty, you've got delicious, and mouth-watering. Now, the moment you hear these 3 adjectives, in most likelihood, the noun or the word that you would be reminded of would be food. Because you've got tasty food, you've got delicious food, and you've got mouth-watering food. So what are these? These are 3 collocation pairs for the noun food, helping you describe the quality of food with a greater degree of accuracy. Let's take one more example. Say I am to use another 3 adjectives. You've got stormy, you've got humid, and pleasant. Now, listening to stormy, humid, and pleasant, I would generally be reminded of the word weather, because you've got stormy weather, you have humid weather, as well as pleasant weather. So you have another 3 sets of collocation pairs working nicely with the word weather. So that's what collocations do. They help you express what you're trying to say with a greater deal of naturality as well as accuracy. So that's what collocations are about. But over here, just in order to underline the importance of collocations, what I'm going to do is intentionally interchange the adjectives that I used or the collocations that I used for weather as well as food. And I assure you that you're going to find the outcome rather amusingly interesting. Let's begin. So say you've got some friends over and you bake a very savory lemon pie for them. They get a mouthful of it and they just love it, and then they start hurling compliments at you. You hear things like, "Ah, this is one stormy lemon pie," and somebody else says, "Oh, it is so humid and oh so pleasant." So now, while these compliments may work on a symbolic level, but not so much so on a literal level. So you're standing over there listening to these compliments, a perfect picture of perplexity, and you end up uttering something like I don't know what to say. Thanks, I guess. So the moment collocations go wrong, things start sounding a tad unnatural. Let's take the next instance that we took, which was weather. You and your friend are standing outdoors. It's a lovely day. Your friend looks up and says, delicious weather, isn't it? Delicious weather. So you stick out your tongue and you say, can't seem to taste it though. well, that ought to sound unnatural because you don't often hear, or rather you never hear delicious being used as a quality to describe weather, because that is a wrong pairing or a wrong set of collocations. So there you have it, folks. This is what collocations are all about: standard pairings or word combinations that sound just right. With that, we move on to the next section, which is the types of collocations. Alright, so since collocations are also essentially words, so just like any other words, collocations can also take the shape of adjectives, verbs, nouns, adverbs, and so on. In fact, collocations can also take the shape of prepositions, phrases, and so forth, but I find these areas to be the most instrumental in building up a profound vocabulary, which is why we're taking up just these at the moment. So if you are to look up the word weather in a collocations dictionary, these are the results that you're in for. It will provide you all the adjectives to describe the quality of the weather. So you've got beautiful weather, fair weather, ideal weather, adverse weather, appalling weather, foul weather, hot weather, humid or muggy weather, changeable weather, bitter weather, as well as frosty weather. So many alternatives available in order to describe accurately the quality of weather. The dictionary will also serve you quite a few verbs, all the actions that work in conjunction with the word weather. One can enjoy weather, you can have good or bad weather, you can even brave weather. Braving the weather would mean to endure or to face difficult weather. Then weather can be forecasted, you may predict the weather, you can check the weather, weather can clear up, weather may deteriorate, or weather may improve. So here are all the actions. Then we have the list of nouns that work with weather. You got weather conditions, you got weather map, weather chart, weather forecast, weather record, and weather station. And finally, we come to the section of adverbs. I find this section particularly indispensable for the IELTS aspirants, as they can utilize the adverbs in their writing section. So I'm going to use another verb over here to use it in the conjunction with the adverb. So weather changes considerably, weather changes dramatically, weather changes drastically, weather changes slightly, weather changes radically, and weather changes markedly. So there you have it, the power of a collocations dictionary. Just by providing one entry into the dictionary, you can have a whole range of words to add to your word stock. So now, how do you tap into this power, and how are you able to retain all these collocations in your head? Let's just get to that in this upcoming final section. All right, so before talking about the usage of collocations, I'm quickly going to go ahead and assist you with how to get your hands on a collocations dictionary. Well, not a dictionary per se, but the app. Yes, my dear friends, over here, I cannot even for the life of me stress enough on the importance of owning an app in lieu of the physical book. The reason for that being instant reference. Instant reference, I believe, is the key to learning vocabulary swiftly and more effectively. Now, you should be able to get the word as and when your mind feels the lack of it. Any delay and the word slips out of context and hence eventually out of the memory. So some quick app suggestions over here. I start with my eternally favorite, the OCD, the Oxford Collocations Dictionary, easily available on the App Store as well as on Google Play Store. Very prolific, very exhaustive. The only downside being that it is a bit steeply priced, and I do understand that as students we are mostly on a shoestring budget. So for you folks, I do have an inexpensive alternative. We have the English Collocations Dictionary. It's been developed by 3 Idiots Lab. Again, very easily available on the App Store as well as Google Play Store. It's available in the sponsored as well as the paid version. If not as exhaustive, it does the job well in its own way. And then coming to the folks who like to keep technology at an arm's length. So for you guys, we do have an alternative. You can go for the paperback of the OCD of the Oxford Collocations Dictionary. You can get it easily off of Amazon at a very decent price, and hopefully it should do the trick for you. So these were the sources. We move on finally to the usage and implementation. So how do you get to implement these collocations in your day-to-day vocabulary? So here's what I'm going to strongly suggest, strongly advocate, that if you're speaking in English already, that's wonderful. I'd like you to go ahead and start thinking in English as well. The reason for that is that you think a whole lot more than you speak. So if you are thinking in English, what's that going to do? It's going to make you feel the lack of more words that you do not know, more words that can fit more naturally than they already do from your current level of vocabulary. So when you're thinking, you're feeling the lack of the words, the good part over here is that you do have the situation very current. You have the context very current in your mind, and when you look up words with the current context in your head, they do stick with the memory. They do stick on, they do hang on to the memory, and that leads to retention, and eventually you can do away with the mugging of long and dry and tedious word lists. So quickly that process once again, start thinking and speaking in English. You will feel the lack of words, you will have the context in mind. When you have the context in mind, immediately refer to your collocations dictionary, and when you learn the word in context, it's going to stick, it's going to retain, and bye-bye mugging word lists. And that's the entire process, and that's the entire vocabulary booster tip from me, Mohit. I hope this has been useful. I hope you found it worth your time. If you have, give me a thumbs up. Go ahead, subscribe to the channel. I'd be very thankful. Till then, I'd be working on something more useful for you. Cheers, and see you soon.